What's up, guys? Today I got a deck profile for Hazy Fire Kings. This is a deck I took to regionals. I was missing a few cards at the time. I didn't do too well. But at the same time, the only things I lost to was Burn and Macro. I took out a couple Dark Worlds, a couple Mermails. So anyway, here's the deck. So you got two Garunix. He's one of the main cards in the deck. You get him out early game and you're in a really good situation to just control the board and make sure your opponent does exactly what you want him to. Next you have two Fire King Barong. He's your searcher. He'll search out your onslaughts, your circles, and your Garunix if need to be. That's all the Fire King engine I actually ran. The next part is going to be the Hazy engine. So I ran 3 Perryton. Perryton has a Rescue Rabbit kind of effect. He's really, really good. You send a fire from your hand to the graveyard and tribute him to special summon 2 Hazy monsters from your deck. This is a really good way to get dead Garunixes out of your hand, and he's just really, really good overall. He can even special summon himself, but he can only be used once per turn. Also, all of the Hazies are Veiler proof. They can't be targeted or Fiendish Chained or anything else, so they're just really nice in that way. Next, you run 3 Cerberus. Cerberus is like the main Hazy Flame guy. He when he gets destroyed instead of the graveyard, you get to add a Hazy card from your deck to your hand. There are a lot of really crazy combos between this and Garunix, and Barong and Garunix, and this and pretty much everything, honestly. Just Cerberus is one of the main cards in the deck, and he's really, really good. Next up, you got 2 Hazy Flame Sphinx. This guy, he's really, really good. You activate his effects, and you call a monster, a spell, or a trap, and you mill the top card to your deck, and if you call it right, you get special summon a fire from your hand or graveyard of your choice. So this is another thing, like if you pitch Garunix for Perryton's effect, you can special out a Sphinx and a Cerberus, activate Sphinx's effect, call whatever, and if you call it right, you can special summon back your Garunix, and get like a free 2700 beater, and then overlay for whatever. The way I run the deck, I usually get the calls right because I run a lot higher of a spell count than I do anything else. So Sphinx is usually pretty dead on. Next up, you got 2 Flamville Fire Dogs. He gets your Cerberus and he also gets Barongs. I was doing him at 3 at first, but I guess I put it down to 2. So that's why Fire Dog's in here. Also, I run Trip Lance, so I mean he's just insane with Lance. If he heals a monster, he gets special summon any fire with 200 or less defense, so that's just kind of good. Next up, this is the card I was missing at regionals, and ever since I've got it, like, the deck has just been 1,000 times more consistent. That's Card E. If you open this Garunix and Trag, you're set because you can distribute Car and then pitch the Garunix because you'll have 7 in hand. And it's just absolutely amazing. I could have done a lot better if I would have had this card in here, guys. Next up, another one of the main cards in the deck is 2 Tragodias. This deck doesn't run many traps, so you really, really have to have Trag in here. He also has a lot of good plays. Like, if you're in a mirror match, Trag is like straight up MVP. You can just pitch your Garunix to take control of your opponents. Or if you're like playing as Heretics or something, if they leave a level 6 on board, you can just pitch a Hazy to take control of it and then copy the level. And Trag is just amazing. I don't even know why I'm explaining him. You guys know how good Trag is. Next up, onto the spell section of the deck. This is the main chunk of the deck, but we'll start off with the most broke card in the deck, which is Onslaught. You know, when Konami designed this card, I don't think they realized just how unfair it is. If I get like this in a card car first turn, I'll just activate the card car, and I won't do anything else. I'll just let them tag me for whatever. As long as they don't OTK me, I can get this. Its effect lets me special summon a Garunix, and then I can either just kill their monster or pass and wait for the standby phase, at which point Garunix will kill all of their monsters. The design on this card is absolutely terrible. It's insanely broken, and it's a must at 3. It's just too good to not run at 3. Next up, I ran 2 Circle of the Fire Kings. I was debating on 3 back and forth all day, but 3 became kind of cloggy, but at the same time, 2 wasn't really enough sometimes, so I don't know. I'm probably just going to stick with 2, because I'd rather, just have to wait another turn to kill somebody than actually, like have 3 dead cards in hand, but I mean, this card is just really, really insane. It gives you some really stupid broke combos, and also it gives you OTK potential. So you definitely need at least 2. Next up, this is the only card that can clog that doesn't really bother me, and that's Hazy Pillar. This lets you normal summon all your Hazy Flames with 1 less tribute, so this card is a must at 3. If you open this Perryton and any other fire monster, you're going to be able to get a first turn strike bouncer and maybe more. It's just a really, really, really good card, and it speeds up the deck to what it needs to be. You cannot run this deck without this card, and I like it at 3. A lot of people play it at 2, but like I said, I don't mind having multiple in my hands, and yeah, 3, I like it. Next up, only ran 1 Rekindling. This card, again, very, very good, but it's more situational in this exact build because I don't run that many monsters with 200 defense. I run a total of 7 targets for Rekindling, and if I get it early game, it's kind of dead, but late game, it's like a game winner, so I had it at 2, but I cut it down to 1, like the day of the regional, and I didn't regret it at all, so this is just a broke card. It probably isn't going to go to 1 on the ban list anytime soon, so I mean, yeah, I like it. Next up, you got 3 Forbidden Lance. This just puts in work. It protects your bouncers if you got those out. It protects your Garunics from bottomless and deep prison. It just does so much work. Fire Dog combos off with this and just spams the field, and just you can do massive damage with a Forbidden Lance on a Fire Dog. Also, it gives you the protection. Also, it gives you like a little main deck defense against Fire Fists, because you can just flip this in damage calc, and yeah, you can do a lot of damage really fast with Lance against Fire Fists. Next up, you got triple Space Typhoon. It's a 3. You have to run it at 3 in this deck. There's way too much hate on... There's way too much macro and stuff like that going around right now for you not to run 3. That kind of stuff wrecks the deck, so 3 MSTs necessary. Next up, you got 2 Duality. It speeds the deck up. I mean, if you open Duality, Hazy Pillar, Cerberus, I mean, you're not going to special summon, you're just going to get a really, really good setup play. So Duality's good in this deck. Next, I run with 3 broke-ass cards, Reborn, Heavy, and Dark Hole. Staples win games, that's all I can say about that. I don't run Avarice in this. I should probably, but I just don't like it. I would always get it first hand and it would totally clog up. And then the last of the deck is 2 Torrential Tributes. Torrential Tribute puts in an obscene amount of work in this deck because you can get pluses off your own stuff getting blown up. So it's like you can get rid of your opponent's field and then, you know, get the continuous TT Garunix back in the standby phase, and that's just too good. Okay, onto the extra deck. I ran 1 Utopia. He's Utopia. He protects your Basel Trice from getting attacked over, so he puts in quite a bit of work. Next, I ran 1 Diamond Direwolf. I don't know if this thing's a secret. I'm going to be that guy and say this card's not that good. Honestly, it's situational as all hell. I mean, it can win games, but that's about all it can do. I mean, it doesn't really change the game state. It can be a push if they're already low on life points, but otherwise this card is completely meh, and it's just very situational. I mean, I wouldn't run it if I had another option, but yeah, I mean, it was just what I had at the time, so that's why I'm running that. Also, I got a Maestroke. He's one of the best Exceeds in the game, in my opinion. He's a Book of Moon that is also part Zen mains, minus the destruction, so Maestroke's just amazing. Next, got Photon Papal Operative, another one of the best Exceeds in the game. It's attach material to make anything go to attack mode and lose attack points. It's kind of broke. Next up, you got Shockmaster. This is another one that I can see getting hit by the ban list because everybody bitches about the shock lock with windups, which is totally warranted. I also run windups, and yeah, it's kind of not fair. That's all my rank 4s. I'll go into my rank 6s now. This is the main thing I go into. It'd be Insector Exobeetle, starting off. this guy is just kind of here. I mean, I typically don't need him because I have Vassal Trice. But, I mean, there are certain situations where I need him. Like, if I gotta get a spell or trap off board, that's the only way I can do that is with Exit Beetle. Next up, Swordbreaker. This is kind of the same thing as Exit Beetle. Like, he's very situational. He has his place. And honestly, like, all of the Exceeds in the entire extra deck just kind of fall short compared to Vassal Trice just because he's, like, unfairly good. But Swordbreaker, he's a makeshift cataster. I mean, he lets you pretty much... He can get anything off the board that you need to. Like, say they Big Eye your Garunix. That's one thing I use him for, is I can call Winged Beast and run into my own Garunix to get a destroyed by card effect, and then he'll start looping back. Next, run a Force Focus. This is another one. Like, I mean, he's good against dragons and things like that, and even occasionally the mirror match. He's just, I don't know. I mean, like I said, all the monsters in the extra deck just kind of pale in comparison to Vassal Trice. But Force Focus, 2800 beater. That's one thing that makes it good. And yeah, it's just a nice option to have. Next up, the only card that is close to Vassal Trice in this deck is Photon Strike Bouncer. Bouncer's one of the best Exceeds in the game as well. I mean, you detach material to negate an effect and burn him for 1,000. He's just really good. 2700 beat stick. Yeah, he puts in work. If you can make one of these guys first turn, you're pretty comfy. And now, for the one I've been bragging about the entire game, that is Hazy Flame Vassal Trice. This is the reason I ran the deck. He's a 2500 beater at least. You can equip as many materials to him as you want to, up to 5, and he can detach material to banish any monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard. That's not even remotely fair. And I mean, like, say he has 3 materials, he gains 200 per material, 400 he can't be targeted, or 4 materials he can't be targeted, and 5 materials he can't be destroyed by card effects. This card just isn't fair, and that's all there is to it. Next up, another card that puts in work in this deck is 2 Gaia Dragon the Thunder Chargers. If you use a Vassal Trice and you're about to kill him for game, you can just play into a Gaia and finish him off, just poke him for game because he does piercing. This is another really unbalanced card. Any deck that can run level 6, or rank 6 monsters can just abuse the hell out of Gaia Dragon. He's amazing. Alright, and on to my side deck. This is nowhere near what I wanted to run, but it's kind of what I got stuck with, so to say, just because I didn't have the stuff I wanted to run, so I had what I had, you know. So I got 2 Royal Decree. This card put in work. I wouldn't change that for anything. It just stops traps. I still managed to lose to burn, though, because I couldn't draw it. Next up, 2 Dust Tornado. It helps against macro when you draw it, which I couldn't manage to do. Yeah, it's a nice little spot destruction for more spells and traps, which is the main thing you're going to get hated on by in this deck. Next up, we got 2 Soul Drains. I had to be really careful when I was trying to play around this card. Like, it won me the first game against Dark Worlds because I Soul Drained him, and then I Decreed, and then I Onslaughted into a Garunix, and it was pretty much game at that point. But, you can use it to hold off your opponents until you draw into a way to remove it, and then you can do your own thing and go off. And so, it works. I mean, it can hurt you too, but you just gotta play around it. Next up, I had 2 Messenger apiece. Messenger always does work. I mean, this is just a really, really good card. It holds off bigger monsters. Also, it's a spell target for Sphinx, because that's, like, my main thing that I call, so... 100 life points a turn is nothing compared to not getting OTK'd by, you know, anything and everything that can do it right now. Okay, and now for the next section of the extra deck, which is all hand traps. Got 2 DD Crows. This card puts in work in the mirror match like no other. And it's also good against windups and Inzectors, and it's actually good against a lot of stuff. Anything that can target monsters in the graveyard to bring them back, DD Crow just puts a hurting on them. Next up, I played Trip Max C, expecting to see a lot of windups. I didn't play a single damn one, so I mean, that kind of upset me. So that could have been 3 spots that were, you know, better used, but all the same, I wouldn't change it. Max C is a game changer. And finally, 2 Effect Veilers. Good against everything, more or less. And, yeah, and that was the deck, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and this is Generic Gemini signing out.